Greetings, hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, greetings, hi. If not, thank you so much for being back. Today's video is all about commitment to self as it relates to glow up culture, and I'm just going to take you through some of my thoughts in the video. And yeah, I was recently reading an article about why and how some people live such long, beautiful, healthy lives, and there are reasons as to why these people are able to live in such fulfilled, healthy, long, vibrant ways. One of the most important indicators of a long, healthy life is the quality of your relationships. The reason this is because we all want to see and be seen. That is to say, we need somebody to bear witness to our own experiences and for ourselves to bear witness to theirs, to understand that we are connected through this whole life thing. This got me thinking even deeper about my own journey and about the season of life I am in. I have been wondering why my own glow up or journey or mental health healing era has not resulted in a skinnier body. Why has that not resulted in less acne? Why has that not resulted in a consistent, healthy, beautiful routine that I just love? The reason is that I have not been bearing witness to the season of life that I am in. I have not been honoring that experience and what is required of me in that experience, even though that doesn't look like what I thought other people's life and journey would look like. And so I thought to myself, if I want to live a long, healthy, vibrant, beautiful life like these people with high quality relationships, right? It starts with me. And so this video is all about how glow up culture actually led me to decide, well, if my journey means anything to me, it means that I need to see it as it is instead of what I think it should look like, which is a skinnier body, lots more money, less acne on my skin, being extra fit and on top of things. That's not what is happening here. And so I wanted to share that experience with you and what I think commitment to self looks like outside of the boundaries of the external, outside of the boundaries of what we think that a person who is glowed up should look like, or how they should present themselves on social media or at work or with their family. What does that look like, and how does one get there, and how are these things interconnected? And that's what this video is all about. Ever since we experienced lockdown and the pandizzle, I realized that I became so obsessed with glow up culture, spending money on things I don't need, money I don't have at all, especially with the economy, just to appear that my life has gotten a certain way now that I'm this age, to make the appearance that, oh, I've been working so hard on my mental health and people are supposed to see, because why is the external not showing the same as the internal? And that was the sort of rat race that I joined. It's like, I know that I'm doing the work mentally. Why is that not showing physically? I started treating myself like a product to be consumed instead of a being to be loved and to experience the world and its beauty and its relationships and its hardships and its suffering and its pain. I became a person who was trying to package myself into a neat little box that could be easily consumed, easily perceived, easily understood by myself and others. It's like a self-imposed prison. In essence, what I was trying to do was to make my own life experience more palatable to an imaginary audience. I was trying to make my own life experience less complicated, easy to digest for those around me who aren't necessarily watching, because people aren't watching us as closely as we are watching ourselves, but also to myself. And it took a matter of acknowledging I am having a complicated life experience. and that is the end of it. And so are the people around me. And so my life experience doesn't have to fit into a neatly packaged box, even if I am doing the work that I think should result in my life looking like a neatly packaged box. Make sense? So yes, it may be true that when you work on your mindset, your external starts to resemble your internal, which means that when you make those mindset changes, you should be starting to see at some point external changes, small or big, based on the internal changes you have made. But what happens in the in-between, the liminal space? I call this my personal development purgatory. It's the liminal space where you know you've been doing the work and you're getting to a point where you're starting to get frustrated because nothing outside is showing that you are putting in the legwork, that you are running these internal marathons and dismantling patterns that you've been living by for years and years and years. Why is that not showing on my external? Why is my new routine not making me skinny? Why am I less stressed but still have acne? Please, somebody explain it to me. Then I realized that this was an integral part of the journey. Learning to ask myself better, harder questions that are more interesting and more applicable to the season of life that I am in, instead of expecting life to do that for me instead. So I am going to define what I mean by bearing witness to oneself. And then I am going to give 4 tips on how to bear witness to your own experience in order to become the higher version of yourself. And I use that term very loosely. You know how there's that whole philosophical conversation, if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it making the sound, did the tree actually fall? And before anyone says anything, I'm not coming to this from the perspective of like the tree falls and so it produces sound waves, and that obviously means it is an object that fell and made sound waves, so obviously it fell. Like obviously that actual action of it falling happened. But if no one was around to experience the sound waves or to see it or to acknowledge that it happened, did it really happen? And I want you to think about that deeply for 1 second. Just take the next 3 seconds and let that simmer in. Okay, so how does that relate to the conversation? The idea here is to demonstrate that bearing witness to anything, bearing witness to your life and your own personal experience, makes it worthy because you are seeing it and acknowledging it and taking what you have seen and acknowledged and making meaning out of it. We are inherently creatures that make meaning out of something. We see something and we attach a meaning to it, right? This is basic linguistics and sociology, etc. Obviously, what you see, if you see the same object or thing or experience something as me, you're going to make meaning differently because you are different and you've grown up differently and your ideologies are different. But the idea here is that bearing witness to something allows you to acknowledge its worthiness, the fact that it happened, it is there and it has affected you or your environment. The tree falls, affects the area around it, and it has happened, and therefore you can take the thing and make meaning out of it and transmute whatever experience you're going through. You can transmute joy, you can transmute pain, and that's the whole notion here. And furthermore, on that idea of the tree falling, if you don't acknowledge your experience, if you don't acknowledge the falling and cracking, the sound, right, you are basically erasing your own experience. It's almost like you were never here because you are erasing your own desires, your pains, your joys and needs, because you are not acknowledging that those things are real and true. Those things are something you are experiencing, and therefore you wouldn't live a long, healthy life. You wouldn't live a life that's fulfilled because your life is essentially not truthful because you are not bearing witness to it. So, to summarize and to make it in short and to tie it all together, I was obsessed with glow up culture, and I know our culture and our society is obsessed with it too, because I was not bearing witness to my authentic experience, and it was also blocking me from bearing witness to the authentic, true experience of those around me. As a result, I'm not making meaning, not acknowledging my joys, my pains, my desires, and the things I want, thus resulting in an erasure of myself as a person and in an erasure of those around me, because life then becomes like performance art because of what we can see and touch, instead of acknowledging what's going inside and how that may be affecting what's going on outside. Now, the meaty part. How do we bear witness to our own lives? How do we commit to ourselves? Because we decided commitment to self is about bearing witness to our own journey. So how do I commit to myself? For me, the first step is to be brave and be willing to take risks or do something that you don't usually do or that is out of the box. The reason I have come to this conclusion on my journey and this bearing witness thing is that everything involves risk. Your parents could be together and married and happy for 30 years, and someone dies or someone gets up one day and changes their minds. I don't know why I said your parents, it could be you. During the lockdown times, people who worked with a company for 20, 30 years suddenly had no job, no benefits, no friends, no loyalty or those relationships. Everything like that completely dissolved. In essence, you had the safe job that you thought was a safe bet, and that still didn't work out. The point is, if everything involves risk and you are the type of person who is constantly going for the safe bet, you are not allowing yourself to truly take the leaps and steps that you know you need and want to take to experience the fullness of your being. Furthermore, I believe that all the decisions we believe are a safe bet are usually just an indicator of where we need to risk the discomfort of pushing beyond the self-imposed barriers and choose things that rather ignite passion and incite fear, things that cause fear inside of you, because where your fear is, there your task is. Thank you, Carl Jung. So instead of choosing things that quell fear, you choose things that incite fear so that you can live up to your full potential. Number 2 on how to commit to yourself, and it may feel contradictory, but I feel like it makes sense, is about doing less, not doing more. I came to realize that there was a point in my life where I was living from a chasing energy, a go, go, go. What can I get? And how much work can I put in order to get? Instead of how do I place myself in a position of alignment? Alignment with what's going on with my life externally, because we can't run away from life, but also alignment with what's going on in my head, what's going on in my heart, what's going on in my soul, in my belly. Instead of living from a place of alignment, I was living from a place of chasing and desperation. Commitment to self is understanding the value of just being. Remember I said in 100 other videos that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. You can just be. You don't have to chase anything. You don't have to chase anyone. You can just be. You can just sit there in the silence and just, with your messy hair and unbrushed teeth and your morning breath and your gross acne and your fat rolls, you can just sit there and be. Experiencing the fullness of life is sometimes about just being. I was realizing that this chasing energy, this go, 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 this how can I get more instead of just being, was not only draining me, but what I was doing was constructing an arbitrary number of points that I needed to get per day, per month, per quarter, per year, in order to then be like, now that I have X amount of points in my little points bag of how good I am and how productive I am, I can now rest. Now that I have all of these points, you know what, I can start believing that I am worth more than the things I thought I was. And it's actually the other way around. When you are in alignment, when you are bearing witness to your season, when you are just relaxing and sort of watching yourself as you are, and not chasing to get, but rather believing that you are already worthy, firstly, that helps you make decisions from a place that is way more calm and way more aligned with the person you are trying to be. Sometimes the only thing blocking you from the things you want, whether those things are material or those things are mental, to get the things you want, sometimes the only thing blocking you from that is whether or not you believe you are worthy of those things. Number 3, making meaning. How do we commit to self? How do we bear witness to our own experience? Making meaning. So Stuart Hall was a cultural theorist, an activist, and academic. He is so slay. Love that guy. Look him up. He explains that we are inherently meaning-making creatures. We are creatures. We see something and we assign a meaning to it, and that meaning then sort of informs how we move through life, and that meaning based on that thing we see can change based on our experiences, the people we know, and the things we've been through. But the key here is the making meaning. You are going to go through lots of pain. You are going to go through lots of joy. You are going to go through lots of things in life that are in between. Most people who are able to live that long-filled, vibrant life that I was speaking about earlier, not only bear witness and watch that experience and that season of their life occur and acknowledge how it's making them feel, but they also make meaning. They choose to take something that is awful and turn it into something good. They choose to take something good and turn it into something better through the meaning they assign to that experience. My last point, number 4, is that commitment to self is about understanding that paradox and things being opposite and things not making sense is actually a natural part of life. That is, the natural order of things is that things don't make sense and that things are constantly opposite. The natural order of life is not that things fit neatly into little boxes and that all rules make sense for everybody all the time, and that if you want something, you go about it this way. If you don't, life is inherently in opposites. When you can sit comfortably in the ambiguity of not knowing, that's when you are committed to the bit, because you are always going to be filled with opposites, opposing notions, opposing feelings, things that you feel don't make sense. When you can sit comfortably with the fact that you are inherently paradoxical, you are committed to yourself, because you are bearing witness to your experience. You are acknowledging this part and you're acknowledging this part. And so this is what I mean, that the external and the internal don't necessarily have to correlate in the way that we've been told that it should. Anyway, you could tell my mouth was dry by how much licking I was doing. I hope that wasn't bothering anybody. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.